Ever feel like there's something going on that we don't know about? Fries with gravy, a cherry cola, friendship, bragging rights, and does Sinatra or Mathis croon the best makeout music? Before there was the counterculture of the 60s, there was the counterculture. From his Oscar-nominated script, Barry Levinson makes his directing debut with this endearing study of pals in transition. Steve Guttenberg, Daniel Stern, Mickey Rourke, Kevin Bacon, Timothy Daly, and Paul Reiser, chosen from over 600 hopefuls, play the up-all-night buddies who work out the remnants of adolescence during ritual grazings at a busy steel and vinyl hangout in 1959 Baltimore. Stars, laughs, interlocking stories, entertainment is the daily special in Diner. 110 minutes, rated R. I think Diner is underrated and it's overlooked during like this Animal House era, Porky's type movie. It has some of that. It has a little bit of that humor. It has some raunchy humor. But for the most part, it's these guys, these pals, hanging out and really figuring out their lives together. It's like kind of like when you go to when you're out late at night and you're with your buddies, all your guards are gone and you feel like you can say anything to these people, to like your best friend, your best friends. You know, that's what these guys are. They work during the day and they stay up all night at the diner hanging out, people watching, eating food, debating, Sinatra or Mathis. But these guys are all going through different things, and so they bring that to the diner and to their dynamic. I think the script really shines through in the writing as far as like the dynamic. Each character is well defined. You have Eddie, who has cold feet. He's about to get married, and he's a huge Baltimore Colts fan. He puts together the ultimate test for his fiancée about the Baltimore Colts. And it's so important to him that if she doesn't pass the test, the wedding is off. It means everything to these guys, but to us as an audience, it's hilarious because, Steve Guttenberg plays Eddie so well. You can tell he's got so much charisma as a young actor. And then you have Timothy Daly coming in, kind of like his best man. And he's got his own issues going on. He's trying to get back together with somebody he left for college. And then, he's kind of the out-of-towner coming back home. Then you have Mickey Rourke, who I think, you could tell he was going to be a star in the 80s in this movie. He plays Boogie, who's kind of he's run into a lot of debt, a lot of gambling debt. He's a hairdresser by day, but a big better. He's got this confidence, this swagger of the group, and he's always looking for a way to make some money, make a little deal. He wants some action. He's the kind of guy that answers the question between Mathis and Sinatra with Presley. That's the sexy pick. So Boogie is kind of that kind of guy, kind of character. Shrevey, played by Daniel Stern, is struggling with it in his young marriage to Beth, played by Ellen Barkin. Those guys are great together. Ellen Barkin, she's kind of stuck in the middle. Beth, she's kind of, she's had history with all the other guys. She knows the group well, but she's still an outcast. She's still, she's married to Shrevey, but their marriage is kind of in limbo at certain times, where Shrevey cares more about his record collection being like perfectly organized than he has a system for his records. And I found that oddly relatable with being a physical media collector. Then you have Fenwick, who's kind of like the wild card, played by Kevin Bacon. He starts out the film with a crazy prank on the guys with some ketchup, and then later on he's playing Baby Jesus. Then you have Modell, played by Paul Reiser, who apparently would improvise all of his lines because there was no lines from Modell in the script. So he would literally come in and he would play against Steve Guttenberg. Are you going to eat all that? You going straight home? All that dialogue by Modell was made up by Paul Reiser. Absolutely genius. So the screenplay was up for an Oscar. Barry Levinson, the director, he would go on to win an Oscar for Rain Man in 1988. But I feel like Diner is such an important film in all of these guys' career, the whole cast. The movie is so underrated, so well done, and still stands up today, I think. It finally came out on Blu-ray in 2015 by Warner Brothers. Not a whole lot special features wise. There's a documentary behind the scenes of Diner. There's an introduction that's pretty cool with the cast, and then Barry Levinson as well. But this is definitely the definitive edition of Diner. I can't see them doing a 4K, but you never know. Diner also celebrated this year its 40th anniversary. So 40 years Diner's been around. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. If you have seen it, let me know your thoughts. I like to discuss Diner with you guys. Quentin Tarantino movies are known for their needle drops, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is no exception. It has a fantastic soundtrack. Let's get into the vinyl. This is the deluxe edition, the orange cream vinyl. Comes with 2 LPs. I love this movie. I feel like the soundtrack is a character. We start with the side A, Treat Her Right, Roy Head and the Traits, which is a banger, as the kids say. It starts the movie off wonderfully. And then you have Bob Seger, which is one of the Bob Seger system, which I had no idea was a thing. You know, I've just heard of Bob Seger. But Ramblin' Gamblin' Man, that is an awesome song. And Brad Pitt driving through downtown Hollywood to Ramblin' Gamblin' Man is a sight to see. Then you have the audio tracks, like I said. You have the Boss Radio and the Mug Root Beer commercial. Then we get into Deep Purple, Hush, where we were introduced to Sharon Tate and Roland Polanski. They're driving to the Playboy mansion in the film, and that song is perfect choice. Hector is another one of those commercials. Son of a Loving Man, great song where they're dancing at the mansion. Sharon's getting her groove on, and you really get to see Sharon Tate come to life on the screen. So Margaret Robbie played her wonderfully. And then Three in the Attic, Paxton Quigley's Had the Course, which I hadn't heard, but I guess it's from the MGM film Three in the Attic. Then we get the side B, Tanya Tanning Butter advertisement, which I think is great. I mean, the whole soundtrack kind of blends together, and then you go into some Paul Revere tracks with Good Thing and Hungry. And Hungry is an interesting choice because that's the scene where Charlie Manson shows up, and it's the only time we see him in the film. And he goes to the door, and they're playing, Sharon's playing Paul Revere and the Raiders, and the song Hungry comes on. I just thought that was an interesting choice. And then Choo Choo Train, Jenny Takes a Ride, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheelers, Kentucky Woman by Deep Purple. I had heard, I'd heard like Neil Diamond's version of Kentucky Woman, but I didn't know Deep Purple did a cover, or vice versa. I'm not sure which one did the original, but Kentucky Woman, great. It's a great version. And then we go to side C, the more Boss Radio, Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel's signatures. That's from that's probably the most famous track on here is by Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel. Numero Uno, radio ad, Bring a Little Lovin', Los Bravos, which is from the trailer of the movie. Great choice. And then my favorite advertisement, Suddenly Heaven Sent, where Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt, is driving down the street, and he sees a couple of the Manson girls that want to ride, and it's just a perfect example of show don't tell, and you kind of just you hear the jingle. Suddenly there's a heavenly fragrance that it's really catchy. Vagabond, High School Reunion, KHJ, Los Angeles Weather Report. Again, setting the mood. The soundtrack as a character, getting us into the world. Illustrated Man, which is a movie that came out during the time. There's an ad for that. And then when Cliff picks up one of the Manson girls, Hey Little Girl plays in the car. And then there is Neil Diamond here. Brother Loves Travel and Salvation Show. Classic Neil Diamond. Then we move to the D side. Don't Chase Me Around, which plays at the Spawn Ranch, where Cliff is discovered that his tire is flat and wreaks havoc and gets out of there before he's killed. And then Mr. Sun, Mr. Moon, California Dreamin', which is a fantastic cover by Jose Feliciano. Oh man, that's great. It really sets the mood. Dynamite Jim, You Keep Me Hanging On, the Quentin Tarantino edit by Vanilla Fudge, really sets the scene for the big finale. So it's really atmospheric. Miss Lily Latney, Cue from the Life and Times of Judge Roy Beam. So that's the ending track where we had the nice crane shot above, and Rick enters the gates of Sharon's house, and we're kind of left with this bittersweet, the fantasy of, once upon a time, what if this had really happened? And then the final track on here is a Cage Chase Batman promotion, which I think is great. The Batman show was really popular, Adam West. One track I wish they had on here was Out of Time by the Rolling Stones. I think that's the montage part where the Rick and Cliff are returning home, and then you have the neon lights of LA, the montage of the neon lights going on and off. But I would have loved to have seen that on there. But overall, I mean, you can't beat it. This comes with a fantastic poster that I had framed. It comes with a small poster of LA, and beautiful set. High, A+ packaging here. This soundtrack I highly recommend. If you haven't heard it, haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. What's the one thing that Blood Diner has in common with Star Wars? An opening crawl. That's it. Grab a table at the Blood Diner, a cut above the rest. The Namtut brothers run the most popular restaurant in town. Popular, that is, if you're the county coroner. The head chef has a real human touch with this special recipes, a killer lineup of delicacies made from human flesh. One of the most insane and over-the-top horror comedies ever made. Blood Diner is presented here fully uncut, restored from the original vault materials, and features a buffet of tasty new supplemental features you'll just die for. Rated R, 88 minutes. From 1987, Blood Diner. Yeah, so Blood Diner. What do I say? Yeah, there's an opening crawl and there's a warning that what you're about to see is graphic and full of cannibalism and over-the-top gore and yada yada yada. And you get that. You're like, okay, cool, whatever. I've seen a lot of stuff. I haven't seen a movie like this that is so bad. It is terrible. I don't know if they were trying to intentionally make the effects look terrible, but it's so poorly made. You have these two brothers who go to a cemetery and they get the brain of their uncle, put it in a mason jar, and somehow it talks and directs them to figure out a way to resurrect the blood goddess Sheetar. And the way they gotta do this is by dismembering women and putting them together in, typical fashion. How would a human body put together? So, a lot of over-the-top killing, a lot of over-the-top gore, a lot of really stupid jokes, and what they serve at the diner, of course, they serve human flesh. It's a cannibalism business. They fry fingers in a frying batter, but they market it as fish sticks. It was tough to sit through, so I'm not recommending Blood Diner. Blood Diner is one that I will not rewatch again. But if you're a fan of Blood Diner, I'd love to hear it. The back of the Blu-ray, if you're a fan of Blood Diner, there's a ton of special features. There's audio commentary with director Jackie Kong, featurettes, Queen Kong, the cook, the uncle and the detective, open for business, scoring for Sheetar, You Are What They Eat, an archival interview with project consultant Eric Caden, theatrical trailer, TV spots. So if you're a huge fan of Blood Diner, this is the definitive package. Unfortunately, I'm not. But let me know what you guys are. And please, if anything, avoid the Blood Diner. This has been Return of the Disc. I'm Dan. For more Return of the Disc, visit returnofthedisc.com. That's returnofthedisc.com. Check out the audio version of today's show, available on all major podcast platforms. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel right here.